The Resident Evil games have had a pretty interesting history. Not many other series will have such a range of genre or feel to the main games. Its roots starting out in the survival horror, which slowly evolved into an action horror mix with Resident Evil 4. And since that game, each of the installments have had their own unique feel. Resident Evil 5 didn't change too much from the Resident Evil 4 formula, but added co-op. Resident Evil 6, which many would probably consider the worst, tried to do something unique with multiple campaigns that I think were intended to feel different, but they all are basically just action. The game did do some interesting stuff with the movement and combat mechanics, but didn't do a great job in showing that to the players, so I don't think a lot of people appreciated that. Then, Resident Evil 7, which was one of my favorite horror experiences ever, and it brought the series finally back to horror. Playing that in VR was terrifying. And then we moved to Resident Evil 8, which seems to have tried to please all fans of the series by having different sections represent different games. You had portions that were meant to emulate Resident Evil 4's feel, like the opening, and then Resident Evil 2 with Lady D in the mansion, Resident Evil 7 with the one scary section, and then Resident Evil 6 with Chris's Call of Duty mission. I enjoyed the game, but it definitely is not at the top of my list for Resident Evil games. The difference in feel and genres of the different portions of the game kind of felt disjointed and made me wish there was more of the scary parts and less of a lot of the other parts. Capcom had expressed that they didn't want the game to be too scary like Resident Evil 7 as to not scare away potential customers. And now Resident Evil 9 Requiem is coming out at the end of February. It will be the first new main installment in the series since Resident Evil Village back in 2021. Will it be a good game? Or will it be another step in the wrong direction for the series like, in my opinion, 8 was? Well, from what we've seen, I think things are looking pretty good. It seems that Capcom has realized after trying to get away from it again with 8 that people do want horror from Resident Evil. So we have the gray sections in the game where you will have a classic unkillable enemy stalking you as you attempt to escape the situation you're in. I think it's a good choice to not have someone like Chris or Leon be the protagonist in that type of situation if they want to make it a scary horror game because, like the developers mentioned, they didn't think people would want to see a timid Leon. Speaking of Leon, he's back, and he's old, but he still has the coolest haircut ever and is still delivering the classic one-liners. His portions of the game are obviously going for more of the action Resident Evil 4 feel, and it looks like they've evolved the combat to involve the environment more dynamically, and using weapons that the zombies have seems like it will be fun. Resident Evil 4 and 7 are my favorite games in the series, and it looks like those are the two games they're looking to blend together for this one. I hope it doesn't have the disjointed feel that I got from Resident Evil 8, but I'm staying optimistic because I could see it working well where the action Leon sections are good breaks for the player after a high-tension horror section with Grace. I think it's a good idea for them to introduce new characters into the series because, let's face it, a lot of them are pretty old, but I think it helps to have a familiar face like Leon to help players warm up to the new characters. I just hope they don't botch Leon's character and make him a complete idiot like they did with Chris in Resident Evil Village. I love how they have both first and third person options. The first person is great for the horror sections, and I'll definitely play Leon's sections in third person. I also think the concept of zombies clinging on to old habits of their past lives sounds really neat and great for the horror experience. Something I wish they would experiment more with in the Resident Evil series is something like we saw in Resident Evil 7's demo, The Beginning Hour. In it, there are plenty of secrets you uncover and actions you can take to get different endings. I think it would be really neat to expand that concept into a whole game, giving a lot of replayability to the game, never knowing if your actions are going to lead to something new or if something more dangerous will be around the next corner. I'm not expecting that for this game. It seems that Capcom will never ditch the action side of Resident Evil, especially considering Resident Evil 6 actually sold pretty well. I think that this game has a lot of potential. Early impressions seem to be positive, and I'm pretty optimistic that this will be pretty good. What do you guys think? What are your impressions of the game, and are you hoping for anything specific? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.